Good morning, everyone. I'm Ann Kelly, Representative District 127. That is Barton County, Dade County, Cedar Counties, and Jasper Counties. Thank you for joining us here today at this important press conference. We are here to discuss the Missouri House of Representatives' commitment to putting Missouri families first. Today, we will highlight several key pieces of legislation we passed this week aimed at supporting families across our great state. Let's begin by addressing House Committee Substitute for House Bill 339 that I sponsored. This bill is a significant step forward in protecting the confidentiality of individuals who report concerns about licensed child care facilities. By prohibiting the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education from releasing information about complainants, we are ensuring that more individuals feel safe to voice their concerns. This is about fostering a safe environment for our children and our families. Representative Parker's House Committee substitute for House Bill 177 and 469, which authorizes Missouri Health Net coverage for hearing aids and cochlear implants for all eligible and needy persons. I will defer to Representative Parker to further discuss her legislation.
Thank you and good morning. Very excited today to be here. This is a big accomplishment. We did this last year, but this will be a bill that helps Missourians across the board, from Southeast Missouri to Northwest Missouri. And so with this, I'm excited. I think that when you look at hearing, it is so crucial. And we don't realize how many Missourians and Americans in general that hearing loss affects. In my family and Representative Kelly's family, there are lots and lots of stories that we hear about these hearing losses. And I think this is the first step that the Missouri House can take to move that forward.
Okay, questions? The representative?
How do you feel about it going to the Senate? Do you feel confident that they're...
Yes, I do, actually. And you hate to get overconfident about that or get some sort of negative karma about that. But last year it was over there, and it was very, very close to the end. We have some very good support in the Senate on this issue as well. So I'm excited and optimistic.
This is a victim of the Senate kind of falling apart last year?
Yes, sir, it was.
How do you think your bill could affect Missouri as an entire state?
I mean, I think it will help all Missourians. I think that the folks that are not covered with this, the health care loss, we have hearing loss in a certain group of folks, and I think with this it'll help lots of Missourians. Go ahead. There's a backlog of people that are unable to get these hearing instruments and cochlear implants, and I think if we can move this forward, we will affect those people specifically. And then, I mean, I would love for this to expand beyond Missouri Health Net.
Economically for the state, how do you think it could impact?
So I think economically, I think that with folks, if they have their independence because they're able to hear, they can go back to work. That'll get more folks back in the workforce. And also, and I don't know how long you guys want me to go on and on about this. I can go on a long time. But as far as the independence for working, and also it reduces the risk of loss. So if you have an elderly person who is able to hear, and the studies say they could fall, they would be out of the nursing home. So I think this would help a lot in very different avenues that you don't normally think about.
Okay, we'll take a couple more questions and move to Representative Shields.
How did you become personally interested in this issue? How did it come to you?
Well, so my mother-in-law, hope she doesn't mind me saying this, has a cochlear implant. My father has hearing loss. I just have several family members that are directly affected with this. And also, I'm an attorney in Southeast Missouri. I had a client come in, and she had been able to have hearing implants or hearing instruments, not hearing aids, when she was from a young person to age 18. Age 18, they broke. She was working at the local McDonald's. She could not afford to get her hearing aids fixed. And so it was a big, she then got fired from McDonald's. So she lost her independence. She lost her ability to support her family or help support her family. So it was just a big issue for me. Thank you all.
Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. This is a really great day for Missourians, for families. They'll be able to access affordable, quality, reliable, safe child care for their children. They'll be able to return to work, and it's a great day for our business community as well, and as well as for the state, because we know that we believe that the state lost about $1.35 billion in economic growth last year because of workforce issues, and the number one reason that people couldn't return to work is because they didn't have the ability for child care. And that'll equate to about $280 million to Missouri's bottom line, which will be great for all Missourians. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Are you more confident this year that this bill would pass the Senate?
I am. You know, I was asked this question a couple days ago, and the pro tem of the Senate, Senator O'Laughlin, had said that she was really going to have a functioning Senate this year, and I'm really very, from an outsider looking in, I'm not a senator, but it looks like they've had great success over there in keeping people focused and working on legislation, and so I do have great hopes that this can get through the Senate this year.
Is this your third year?
Yes, this is third year. Third year is the charm.
Oh, okay. Talk about what has inspired you to continue to sponsor this bill for the third year, and why does it need to happen this year?
Well,
Why, through both chambers?
Well, first of all, I became very engaged in the early learning network when I was a volunteer with the United Way and later the CEO. We had a great Success by Six program, and I learned about the importance of child development in between the ages of 0 and 5, that 90% of their brain is developed. So it's very important that we have our children in quality, reliable, safe care through those very important years of 0 to 5. So that's why I became involved. And then when I saw the numbers from the Missouri Chamber that shared the numbers and the issues that we have with parents being able to work. I mean, businesses tell us that they 6% of the time they have real trouble keeping and retaining and recruiting employees, and they tell them they can't have them and they can't work because they can't find child care. So I know when I was CEO of the United Way back a long time ago in 2006 through 10, our businesses wanted to be engaged in that early learning arena and they didn't know how, but now they feel it every day. And so they tell us they are willing to engage. And what I love about this bill and why I really push it is this isn't government coming in and telling you the child care that you need. This is businesses saying we need to help with child care, and if they help, government then comes in and helps. So this is child care that's directed by their community, and that's so directed by their community and not directed by the government. And that's what's really important to me, because I think families need choice. They need to know that they can use a family provider that's in their community, they can use a group home, they can use a center-based home. We're not picking winners and losers here. What we're picking is we will stay with private providers, and we're going to have our business community help us, and it's other taxpayers, individuals can help as well, and then the government gets involved.
Have you heard from specific businesses that plan to utilize the tax credits?
I have. I don't want to use their name, but I had a community meeting in St. Joseph, Missouri, my hometown, and there was very many businesses that were already talking how they were going to combine their resources and help build a large child care facility. And I will tell you that when businesses are picking a place to look for a new location for their business, they look at infrastructure. They look to see if you have the roads and all that base infrastructure, utilities, and they look to see if you have the workforce. And I truly believe if Missouri solves a child care crisis, we'll be able to say to every business, you can bring your business to the state of Missouri because we have the workforce you need, because our children are being taken care of, and we're creating the workforce of tomorrow because we're making sure those minds are developed to the most of their potential before they even hit school. And I truly believe when we accomplish this, we'll also save, millions of dollars during our K-12 system, because we won't be doing as much remedial work that isn't as effective as if we really make sure that we develop those brains in between 0 and 5. Thank you very much for being here today and covering all the great things that we did this week in the Missouri House.
All right. Now we turn our attention to House Committee Substitute for House Bill 850, 53, and 482, sponsored by Representative Schmidt, Representative Hausman, and Representative Haley. This allows the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to grant temporary child care licenses. I will now have Representative Hausman to speak on this piece of legislation and how crucial it is for expanding access to quality child care.
Thank you, Representative. I just want to thank you guys all for coming out again today. This is a monumental week for us. As we've seen, all the representatives who are women are showing, their strength and doing something that we care a lot about, and that's children. And our children and family are our most important resource in Missouri, and so I'm excited to be a part of this. I think with this temporary licensing, it's going to help some child care facilities and bring some much needed care into our communities. And so this is going to help those that already exist to continue and to grow. And I think that's what Missouri needs, is more small business growth. And so this bill supports that. And so that's why I was happy to be a part of this. And it was a group effort. I wanted to thank the other two representatives who also put this bill in. Representative Schmidt put a lot of hard work into this as well. She'd been working on it for several years. And I was just so happy to be a part of this and take this on down the line. And with that, I take any questions.
Do you see this as sort of a companion piece in some ways to Representative Shields' bill, this idea of trying to get more child care access?
Absolutely. I think Missouri, we see that need, as Representative Shields had mentioned, and so, I think absolutely we're looking to, just help parents and help our community grow, and that this is an area that we all recognize is very much needed, and so I'm happy to be a part of this.
Economically, how do you think this could help Missouri? And this you may reiterate some of what you already said, including how this impacts small business growth, but just curious what you think this could do economically.
Well, I think economically it's going to allow businesses that already exist in the child care facilities to expand and grow and not have to stop and get the licensing that takes sometimes up to 18 months to get and achieve. And so this is going to help them out to expedite this time period so we can have more in a quicker fashion, and that these facilities can grow in the communities.
So does this come with also expansion of maybe more workforce within DESE to be able to kind of speed up the process to get these licenses?
I think it's going to help. I think definitely. But anytime we can create more jobs, I think that's a benefit to Missouri, and that will always help, us grow. All right. Well, thank you again for coming and spending some time with us.
Now let's discuss House Committee Substitute House Bill 236, sponsored by Representative Gallick. This bill addresses the pressing issue of adult content online, emphasizing the need of age verification and appropriate safeguards. Representative Gallick.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I represent Cass County and Bates County in District 62. I am here to speak on my House Bill 236. I truly believe that raising a child is the most important thing you will do in your life. They are the future. And currently, there are 19 states that have this law in effect. 6 of them border Missouri, yet we do not have that in effect in Missouri. So with the click of a button, children can get onto online pornography, and many times it's behind closed doors. So this is a step in the right direction if you look at everything that's going on in the United States. Again, there's 19 states that currently have this in effect. It is working, and children are the most vulnerable, and I believe that we need to protect them. So with that, are there any questions?
Is your legislation kind of modeled? Is it based identical, similar to other states? Or?
Actually, I talked to several different people in states. 2 years ago, when it was brought to my attention, I did discuss this with the very first person in the United States to get this passed in Louisiana, and she gave me some information. Also, I was at a conference this summer, and Kansas got this passed last year, and I spoke to the sponsor about that. The bills are very similar. Some are identical, some are not. To be considered a pornography site, my bill says that you have to have 33%, because we don't want to mistake it. We don't want something with, veterinary medicine or, something on puberty to be considered pornography. So it's 33% or more pornographic materials, and that is considered a pornography site.
Do you think that because it's a widespread, issue, is this something that you think the federal government should lead on?
The federal government is looking at this right now. It's at the Supreme Court because in the state of Texas it was passed and then it was brought up in a lawsuit, and the Supreme Court in Texas passed this, but then they went one step further and they brought it to the Supreme Court. So this is a huge issue. mental health is the foundation of our children. I mean, we spend millions of dollars on health care, on education, and on a variety of things for the betterment of children. And mental health is a huge issue. Children, if they are looking at the internet, likely you and I mean, when you want to know something, you Google it or you look something up. If they are looking at this stuff and think that this is normal or this is what reality is, that is concerning.
I am not up to speed on your bill, so I'm going into this blindly, but how would companies verify the age of their?
There are I did not know this either. There is a huge association of age verification providers. They can look at biometrics, they can look at digital ID, they can do two-factor verification. There's a variety of ways that you can do this. People have been concerned about privacy. In my bill, it says shall not retain any information, whether you granted access or denied. So there is that privacy clause, and again, it's in 19 states, it is working, and there have been no issues. All right, thank you very much.
And finally, we have House Committee Substitute House Bill 243, sponsored by Representative Williams, which will ensure that pregnancy status does not impede legal processes regarding marriage dissolution or separation. This legislation is vital for supporting women and families during challenging times, ensuring the legal rights are upheld without discrimination based on pregnancy. Representative Williams.
Good afternoon. What a great week for Missouri families. We've got a lot of really great legislation. House Bill 243 is one that's very personal to me. It's regarding my personal story. 20 years ago, I was denied also a divorce because I was pregnant. I am a domestic abuse survivor, and this bill is incredibly important for Missouri families, protecting Missouri women, being able to leave a situation they no longer want to be in or that they no longer need to be in as well. This also ensures that men who might have a spouse who becomes pregnant by someone else, that they too don't have to take care of a child that doesn't belong to them, and afford them the ability to sever that relationship and be able to, to take responsibility and ownership of that marriage and be able to move on and do what they need to do that's best for them. I'm really excited. It received a unanimous vote, which was absolutely incredible, and I'm excited to see it move on to the Senate and see where we can go from there. I'll take any questions you might have.
Did you know when you ran that you would be sponsoring this bill, that you would be sharing your personal story in such a format as the House floor and in committee hearings?
I absolutely did. As a matter of fact, it was my very first priority. I did not realize that this bill or this law was going to hold on for 20 years from when I went to try to file for divorce, but it did. And filing the legislation, filing the bill, and then now, it moving through the House the way that it did, I knew that there would be, I would need to share my personal story. I wanted to really bring to life what exactly I had experienced and how important it was for me to receive a divorce, being able to sever those legalities between my first husband and myself. And I knew that whenever I got elected, that would be the first thing I did, and it was the very first bill that I filed. I understand what it means to, really be silent when it comes to the abuse that I received. I didn't tell a lot of people, and I wish I would have, because after filing this bill and speaking about it, it became very apparent that I, have a lot of unhealed wounds, and I at this time, need to deal with those, and I'm very thankful for that as well, because what better way to do it than with the support that I have of our House members. We received, bipartisan support. It's really been incredible, and I'm extremely grateful.
As the bill heads to the Senate, is it a finished product? Do you expect that this is the form the bill will take through that process, or are there still changes that could be made?
There's always changes that could be made. I would love to see it come out as clean as possible. It's a personal bill to me here in the House, but it may not be a personal bill to someone over in the Senate. But I know that I would hope that it would remain as clean as possible. But I think ultimately, as long as the law is passed, that women can escape a marriage they no longer want to be in and not be held by the constraints of, having to choose between, their child, being put in that terrible situation where you may feel compelled to sacrifice your child so that you can free yourself of the situation that you're in, is absolutely terrible that we would even expect somebody to do that. So that's why I feel it's really important that it stays as clean as possible. This is an amazing way to protect women and their rights at this point, with this law. So, thank you.
We're not even to spring break yet. You're a freshman. And, as a freshman, sometimes you really kind of sit back and you might sit back and just kind of take it all in and how the process works more than, getting a bill this early on in your first year. So what does it mean to you as a freshman to get this bill done so early on in the year?
I mean, it's an incredible honor. I know that there are freshmen in the past and even freshmen within my class that haven't received such an honor as this, and it's something I take very seriously. I knew of the legislative process prior to coming in, but it is it's very exciting because it is something that doesn't happen very often, and I'm fully aware of that. I respect the process. I respect the rest of my colleagues. Because I know that is something that everyone looks at. A freshman, that typical role is to sit back and just observe and see how everything's done. I had a goal that this was the first thing I was going to do, and it was something, like I said, it's very personal to me, and I wanted to be responsible for that, and here we are.
What would you say to those who are where you were 20 years ago when they felt alone, didn't know that they had support? And I look at you getting hugs from both sides on the floor and obviously the support you've gotten in this chamber. What would you say to them looking back from the experience you've had here?
It's every woman's situation is different. Every man's situation is different when they're involved in domestic abuse relationships. And having the courage to find someone that you can trust and share your story with them, it's really extremely hard. It's hard because you then, I don't look at myself. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I was a victim. And when you start to talk about it, it becomes real. Because as you are being abused, pieces of you are taken slowly until you no longer recognize yourself. And I always thought that I would never be the woman that would be abused, ever. I would just leave. But you don't realize what happens to you, and you become a shell of the person you once were. Ultimately, my abuser couldn't abuse anyone anymore. He chose to take his life, and I was able to start healing. So I thought, until this bill was filed. And the more that I talk about it, it's a very raw feeling, walking around and people knowing your story, that you're a domestic abuse survivor. I would hope that if there was anybody who was experiencing anything that I went through, that they would know that they could come to me and that I would be able to help them. I wish that I had that opportunity with someone that I knew, but I didn't. And so I would hope to be that person for somebody, male or female. But passing this legislation is the most important key to making that happen.
Speaking so personally about your experiences. I don't know how you've been able to keep it together publicly. So is this bill like a form of therapy for you, knowing that you're helping a whole lot of other people?
You know, I don't know if it's a form of therapy. I know that it's, I knew, my husband took his life 11 days before our divorce would have been finalized. And I knew on that day that I was going to be able to tell him everything I needed to tell him. And I didn't get that opportunity. These days have been that opportunity for me. Not that he would even listen, but I get to tell everybody else. And I hope that people walk away knowing that everybody has a story, and to be careful who you judge, because you have no idea what their God has asked them to walk through. And that we can all find commonality with something in somebody's life, and just be kind. You know, one of the most important things is, you know, to end the silence so that we can stop the violence. And I think that the more people you have in your corner as support, the more successful you will be. And I think that that's the most important key.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say Representative Williams is a rock star if I've ever seen one.
Sorry, tell me what your bill is.
So what it did was, currently what happens is whenever you hotline a daycare provider, your name is published on their website, and it's for public eyes. And so what my bill does is it makes it anonymous. So whenever childhood was, Department of Childhood was in the Department of Health and Senior Services, that was anonymous. But for some reason, when it got transferred over, that anonymous got left out of statutes, and so they're just doing their own thing, basically. And so that is all public information.
So when did it get transferred to the?
2021, I want to say.
Could the department do?
So they could, absolutely. They could do it on their own. But I did have the liaison come to me this year and said that he was glad that I had proposed the bill. All right, the Missouri House of Representatives is committed to policies that prioritize the well-being of our families. Each of these bills represents a step forward in strengthening the support systems of Missouri's families. We encourage all citizens to stay informed and engaged as we work together to foster a better future for all Missourians. I thank you for all being here today.